Yes, hello. This is Jason and Therese again, working in employee self-service, trying to train you on how to enter time into the employee self-service system. This is video 2 of 3. We're going to start right in on entering time in employee self-service. This is the meat of the program. Just a couple of things we want to go over, and we'll hit these highlights, and Therese will show you the details.
Yay.
So time is entered in quarter-hour increments. So you don't have to put 13 or 19 or some other crooked number. It's 15-minute increments. Time entry includes a start time, a stop time, a lunch time, then a start time, and your punch out at the end of the day. So just keep in mind you got to record that there's a lunchtime somewhere in the day for you. Depending on the size of the screen that you're entering information into, you might have to scroll up and down to get all the pay types. So if you have a little screen, you got to scroll to make sure you put the hours in the correct row. The rows represent the pay types. Therese will show it to you, but just so you know, you might have to scroll up and down. This might be especially important for people who are using phones to be able to enter in time. So I know we're going to do some training with that today. In addition, time should be entered daily. If you wait too long, you might forget. So at the end of the week, you don't want to have to remember what time you punched in or out. Or at the end of 2 weeks, you don't want to have to remember what you did 2 weeks ago. So your best bet is to put your time in on a daily basis. All right. So be careful. There's a copy function that allows you to copy information from week to week. I'm just advising you might consider not using that because it copies over every little bit of detail. Punch in, punch out, the time, whether you had vacation, sick, or personal. Could be more pain than it's worth.
It is.
It's that function is available, but just be careful using it, and just make sure after you've entered your time on a daily basis that you click save. Don't click the back arrow. Don't click submit your time. You just want to click save for later, and that's going to keep you out of trouble. All right. So I'll let Therese guide you through the details of this time entry.
Here we go. So what we do for time entry, we click on the button down here that says time entry. Okay, so this brings up my current timesheet. This is my current week. So here I worked Monday, or Monday was a holiday. So I entered my days for the holiday. And what I did is in the notes line, I put MLK because that's Martin Luther King Day. So it reminds me of what holiday I took for that week.
For holidays, you don't actually have to enter in, and punch out. You just enter a numerical amount.
Right. And that's like here, you put your 8 hours right there. And then you go over here and where I made my notes. And if you want to make a note to remind you which holiday you used, that's where I put MLK. And then over to the side, I hit add the line. So here I put my hours in for Tuesday and Wednesday. And here's your what I did is you can see this is my 7:30 to 12 and lunch out. Then I came back at 12:30, worked till 4, and it's my lunch in. One of the things that I find that's very, very important and very careful is when you're doing that, you need to change it from AM to PM. It automatically defaults to AM. So, and then once I've gotten those days in, I go over here and I say save for later because I'm saving it until the end of the week when I put my hours in.
So for vacation and sick, as long as it's a full day, you're just putting the hours in.
Yes.
And then clicking scroll up there a little bit to rest.
As you can see, it's going to be you got to be very careful on the dates. So if you were doing Friday, you need to scroll down or come down to that week and you can put in like your sick time. You want to make sure you're on Friday, and you can always scroll up. It's not the best, but that's what we have to do.
Remember, we told you you're going to have to scroll to enter time. And again, all the different pay codes you can use, overtime, double time, are all down the left-hand side. So for fixed hour amounts, like if you're sick an entire day or if you're on vacation an entire day or a personal entire day, you just type the number of hours and then you click add line.
Yep.
All right. If for some reason you're there a half a day or whatever it might be, you'd actually have to you wouldn't type the hours in, you'd type your in time and out time, and it would calculate the hours for you.
Correct.
And that's what we do for your normal workday. You'd add one line for the morning before lunch, and then one line for the afternoon after lunch.
That's exactly what I'm showing you up here. Now, when Jason had mentioned earlier about copy from a previous week, that's this button up here. And it would go back to my previous week, the prior week, and it can copy the time over to this week. But I don't use that feature for myself because a lot of times if I had to be, let's say if I had a personal day, I might forget, and we've had others forget, and then we've had to go back in and correct the information, and we have a process that we use now to correct that week. And usually your supervisor should be able to make that correction prior to submitting it for payment.
Yeah. Please note that in your notes line, like if you're putting stuff in for overtime, if you put in your notes line, put in who's approving your overtime. So we still want you to have that sheet that's signed off by a third party if they're if we're charging for overtime, or all overtime needs prior authorization. You got to put down who that person was in the notes field when you're entering stuff into, who authorized your overtime. So on your overtime line.
Right. And as you can see, it's going to total across for your weekly total. And then it's also going to, I can't get it to go down.
Grab it. There you go.
Oh, I don't have. So then here in this corner, put that, it's not going to show it, but so you can see I have this right now is a total of 24 hours for the week. So then when I add my time for Thursday and Friday, it'll give me a total of 40 hours. And you can check it this way and you can check it across, which is the two best ways to do that. Okay.
Did we accidentally turn it off? No, we're still going.
Yeah.
So my recommendation is don't use the copy, and always you click save up at the top. You click save.
Save for later.
Save for later. And that's the biggest thing that most people forget. All right.
Okay. So the next thing is Jason's going to talk about is submitting your time.
So exciting things to know about submitting time. So you could scroll between weeks, and we're going to show you this. Teresa is going to show you this. You're going to scroll between weeks by clicking on prior week or next week. Don't use those big triangles because those by clicking those return arrows will take you back to the main screen, and you may lose your entries because you haven't clicked save. Before you submit your time, double check your hours worked each week before submitting. So you need to be able to navigate between prior week and next week to be able to submit it, because we pay on a bi-weekly basis right now, and you need to be able to go between those weeks so you know how to review your time before you submit your time. Time should be submitted weekly to your supervisor. So while we're asking you to submit time daily, at the end of the week, you should submit that time to your supervisor, not wait to the end of 2 weeks to be able to submit your time. It gives your supervisor an opportunity to be able to review your time and not have to remember where the heck you were one day or not one day. So the system doesn't calculate overtime, double time or comp time earned. You need to enter these times in the appropriate pay type and day. Different bargaining units have different pay codes and pay descriptions. Some bargaining units have comp time. Some bargaining units don't have comp time. So just pay attention to that. We've tried to keep the pay types generic for entry, but ultimately you have to type the amount, and the system is not going to calculate your overtime or double time based upon either the number of hours you worked or the day that you worked, whether it's a holiday or a Sunday or a Saturday. So final thing is you got to remember that this is your official pay record under Connecticut Department of Labor and FLSA standards. So when you're typing stuff in there, this is the official pay record. So just be aware of that